feel so bad for the generation coming up behind us millennials. They really have no idea what life in this country used to be like. They have no idea what qualifies as good music. They missed out on all the good movies. Talking about the classics, Goodfellas, Casino, the American Pie series. For those who are into more romantic style movies, classics like Pretty Woman. Today, critics consider a movie to be a classic if it follows the journey of D. Wade and his husband Gabe as they treat their son for gender dysphoria. The movie always has a very happy ending. After 90 minutes, just an hour and a half, the son magically transforms into the daughter. I can remember when I was in high school and college. This was the early to mid 2000s. The mainstream media back then, they were heavily focused on government spending and the national debt. We are in a debt crisis. The national debt has reached $1 trillion. W has destroyed Billy's balanced budget. I mean, there's no denying the fact that government spending was out of control 20 years ago. Whether you agreed with the war in Iraq and Afghanistan or not, at least they were spending billions of dollars fighting a mentality that was pushing for our destruction. Remember No Child Left Behind? That disastrous legislation designed to assist what they called at the time disadvantaged students. Like damn near everything that passes through Washington, this bill was a complete disaster. But at least they were pretending like they cared for the kids. Today, the federal government, they are wasting hundreds of millions of dollars debating an issue that does not need to be debated. They're wasting all this time and money debating the obvious. Whatever happened to follow the science? Remember that from like 3 years ago? That's all we heard from Aunt Fauci. Follow the science. I am an expert. I have been working in government since the Jefferson administration. I have not seen a patient in decades, but take my word for it. I am an expert. My name is Tony Fauci. It's strange. We are no longer being told to follow the science. Matter of fact, deacons at Woke United Methodist, they are now trying to convince us that science doesn't matter. When it comes to Walter Weiner identifying as Tina and competing in women's sports, the science no longer matters. We're told to ignore our eyes. That's not a beard, that's just face paint. Ignore that bulge, it's just an oversized tampon. Yesterday, we were exposed to one of the most ridiculous Senate hearings in the history of this country. The founders of this country, they are probably looking down from heaven in disgust. They set up this government to provide the essentials: cops, firefighters, military. They set up the government to protect our rights and freedoms. The founders did not set up the federal government to debate gender ideology. If I were a senator sitting in on this hearing yesterday, I would be embarrassed. I would be humiliated that I'm wasting my time arguing about the differences between a man and a woman. My 6-year-old nephew understands this philosophy. It's not all that difficult to understand. If you look down and see 2 of Don's lemons propping up Peter, you're a dude. If you look down and see the opening to the promised land, you're a woman. Riley Gaines was the special guest on the Congressional podcast yesterday. Now, the technical term is Senate hearing, but it's just a low-rent form of entertainment. Riley Gaines was invited as an expert to discuss the biggest issue facing America today. It's not the war on terror. It's not the opening the size of the loose caboose down at the southern border. It's not the rapidly declining mental state of 2 of the country's so-called leaders, the lovable Uncle Fester, John Fetterman, and the insanely popular Johnny Biden. According to Congress and the mainstream media, the biggest issue in America today is state and local governments trampling on the rights of Tim to compete athletically against Kim. Kelly Robinson is the president of the Human Rights Campaign. During this hearing yesterday, she was engaging in a back and forth with some dude flaunting multiple chins doing his best impersonation of Jay Leno. The name on the plate said Mr. Kennedy. I was unable to confirm if this was his legal name or the name he chooses to identify with, but after watching the clip, I kind of like this Mr. Kennedy guy. I don't know too much about his politics, but I'm confident in the skills of his ophthalmologist. The spectacles resting on the nose of Mr. Kennedy, they are clearly working. He understands the physical advantage that biological males have over biological females. Unfortunately for Kelly Robinson, her ophthalmologist received her training from Woke U, the university known for training their eye doctors by using beer goggles. Watch this exchange for yourself, and keep in mind, this is not some discussion at your local bar or a debate in a college classroom. These are so-called professionals and government officials, along with a logic superstar in Riley Gaines, debating a topic that is understood from birth. Roll the film.
You don't believe that a biological male has a physical advantage in sports over a biological female?
Not as a definitive statement.
How many female members of the NBA do you see?
Well, I can say that, there's been this news article about men that think that they could beat Serena Williams in tennis, right? That they think that they could actually score a point on her. And it's just not the case. She is stronger.
Both Serena and Venus lost to the 203rd ranked male tennis player, which they're phenoms for women. My experience, my husband, he swam at University of Kentucky as well. In terms of accolades and in terms of national ranking, I was a much better swimmer than him. He could kick my butt any day of the week.
I respect where Mr. Kennedy was trying to go there with his question about the NBA, but these types of questions, they are better left to the experts like myself. What he should have asked Kelly Robinson was, how many females do you see in the WNBA? That would have put her in a lose-lose situation. As you guys know, some of those dump divers, they are doing their best to impersonate men. Kelly Robinson, she would have been stuck here. She can't risk misgendering those highly skilled trash engineers. What could she do? Of course, she pulled out the shitfuck manual and followed the guidelines when you're asked a question that you can't answer. She avoided it altogether. She pulled off the deflection popularized by Hillary Clinton in the 2016 presidential race. She deflected the conversation, started talking about Venus and Serena Williams. Male birthing persons are afraid to compete against Vena and Rena. It would be the equivalent of a WNBA game. Not 1 point would be scored. Fun little fact here that's a bit off topic. The Star Trek virgin Mike Freeman from USA Today, he was filled with excitement and anticipation when he heard the name Venus. He thought this was an alien willing to deflower him. Once he found out Venus Williams was a natural woman, Mike went back to trying to seduce the stormtrooper. But as you saw in the clip, Kelly Robinson was absolutely destroyed by Riley Gaines. I don't understand how the president of the Human Rights Campaign can be this uninformed. It's a well-known fact. Male tennis players who couldn't qualify for the tournament at the local YMCA dominated Venus and Serena Williams in tennis. A few minutes later, Riley Gaines went into detail, sharing her experience with Lia Thomas. The word misogyny gets thrown around, often in mythical terms. If I criticize the WNBA, you're a misogynist. If I say Mina Kimes is not qualified to be labeled as an NFL analyst, you're a misogynist. You just don't want to hear a woman talking football. No, I don't want to hear a woman who's not qualified. But watch this clip for yourself. Listen to Riley Gaines explain how the NCAA and the University of Penn handled this situation with Lia Thomas. You tell me, who is the real misogynist? Roll the film.
The NCAA forced me and my female swimmers to share a locker room with Thomas, a 6'4", 22-year-old male equipped with and exposing male genitalia. Let me be clear about this. We were not forewarned we would be sharing a locker room. No one asked for our consent, and we did not give our consent. And I'll set the scene. A swimming locker room is not a place of modesty. You're undressing, you're fully exposed, and we were forced to take off our swimsuit in front of a man who was doing the exact same thing. I know that I don't speak for every single person who competed against Lia Thomas, but I know I speak for many because I saw the tears. I saw the tears from the 9th and 17th place finishers who missed out on being named an All-American by 1 place. And I can attest to the extreme discomfort in the locker room when you, from these 18 to 22-year-old girls, when you turn around and there's male eyes watching in that same room.
Earlier this week, a young woman from NC State revealed her experience with Lia Thomas too. Apparently, competitive swimmers from different schools share a locker room during the NCAA Finals. The spot that was supposed to be given to Riley Gaines wasn't the only thing Lia Thomas stole at the NCAA Finals last year. Lia also invaded the locker room. Kylie Alons, I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. Kylie Alons is the young woman from NC State. Now, Kylie is the most decorated swimmer in the history of the school. Last year during the finals, she walks into the locker room to change into her swimsuit. Tuck-friendly suits were not required. Kylie's one of those women who can fit into a traditional bathing suit. As a young woman, walking into a woman's locker room, you're expecting to see other young women, right? I mean, this is the place designated for you to change your clothes. You don't want to change clothes in front of Peeping Peter and his motorized skeeter. But what does Kylie see when she walks into the locker room last year? King Kong, better known as Lia Thomas. Kylie Alons was so uncomfortable with the situation, she went inside the storage closet to change clothes. Now, the shitfucks will claim that this was her own choice. No one forced her to do this. She chose to utilize the storage closet herself. They will also claim that Lia Thomas had every right to be in the girls' locker room. The name says Lia Thomas. That automatically qualifies as a woman, right? Remember, they expect us to ignore our eyes. That's not a propeller, that's just a cane used to prop her up while walking. Let me ask you something. Whose rights are being violated? Whose rights are being trampled on? Why should young women have to change their clothes in a fucking closet because someone else decides they want to identify as female? Why should parents have to worry about their daughters, what they're being exposed to, in the locker room? 20 years ago, parents were worried about their kids being exposed to drugs, steroids. Today, they got to worry about their daughter sharing a locker room with Heather Thundercock. This is the oldest crime in the history of mankind. This crime dates all the way back to biblical days. It's the war against women. Now, it's taken on many disguises over the years. In some areas of the world, customs and culture are used as excuses. Sometimes religion is used as an excuse to take away rights from women. Actually, religion, that is exactly what's happening in America today. They are using the religion of woke to trample on the rights of women. The same women this movement was supposedly fighting for back in the 60s and 70s. The causes may change, but the agenda has always been the same. The shitfucks will use any marginalized group to their advantage. Women, minorities, LGBT, doesn't matter. They don't care about the people. They only care about their usefulness. Once they're no longer usable, they're discarded, they're forgotten. Riley Gaines should be celebrated. This young woman is absolutely amazing. She refuses to go away. She refuses to be silenced. You want the answer to the question, what is a woman? Riley Gaines is a woman. But give me your thoughts. Riley Gaines absolutely torches Kelly Robinson. This right here is a prime example of what it looks like when someone has the truth on their side and their opponent is based in lies and propaganda. There's no disputing the truth. Credit to Riley Gaines for having the courage to not only deliver it, but to deliver it eloquently. Very well spoken young woman. But give me your thoughts. Sound off in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com. KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys later.